Okay, so in one of the previous videos, I told you that I'm going to show you how to run your test on this virtual box created using Vagrant. In the projects folder, we have a few example projects. Let's run the first one. So I already have that command in the history. So just for more verbose output, we're just going to say that debug equals true, and then we just specify the project, which is Dr. King Schultz, and then we use the vagrant configuration for Jmeter-ec2 project, and then finally we specify the of course the Jmeter-ec2 script, and basically that's it. When you run it now, it will just print all the configuration. And now if you run it for the first time, it will try to install a Jmeter on that virtual box. If you run it for the second time or something, it will be much faster, because it will just check that Jmeter is already there. And okay, now our test is running. It should finish soon, because this project is configured to create quite a few errors, and the auto stop plugin should take care of it. So what do I mean by taking care of it? The auto stop plugin should actually detect that for example, error rate or average response times are higher than the configured thresholds, and it should just automatically stop the test. So let's wait for this run to finish, and if you scroll up, so here we have the current we had the updates on the status execution, and then if we scroll down a bit, we have last 20 lines of the remote Jmeter log. So this Jmeter log was downloaded from the this virtual box, and as you can see here, there is this entry that the auto stop plugin shut down the test because the error rate was more than 2% for 2 seconds. This is how I just configured the test. You can just configure it to anything you want. Later on I'll show you how this test looks like. Okay, so that was the reason we stopped this test automatically, and then as you can see, we are generating just some files, then zipping the reports, generating some stats. So here you can see that we generated the response time percentiles for both HTTP samplers that were found in the aggregate report, and here we have the values for these percentiles, and that 2 lines represents the response time for the other HTTP sampler. And finally, we have the next thing that we can see here, we see a simple aggregate CSV report generated. So we have some stats like average response time, median, 90% line, min max response times for both HTTP samplers. First sampler was called just get, the second one is called get with random failure, and then we have total, that is just a summary of those 2 lines. Next thing, the vagrant configuration that we use didn't disable the one feature called calculating basic statistics from aggregated result file. So here we can see that script calculated mean, standard deviation, median and max response time for the minimum and maximum values for the latency, response time, and the response size. And last thing that happened here, we can see that the script was generating a HTML report. All the graphs were generated. Some files were found, like the remote file for the performance monitor. So that's why we have this warning, so that nothing to worry about. And we're cleaned up all our mess after us. So yeah, now we can see that the result file was saved in the one of the zip or bzip files. And if we go to our folder into projects, results, you'll be able to see all the files that were generated during that test run. So we can see the all the CSV files. Oh, sorry, not LibreOffice. Let's use just the regular editor. So we have the aggregate report, which was using the Jmeter. It was generated using the Jmeter plugins command runner. Then we have percentiles for both HCP samplers. Another thing, yes, that's the same thing. That's just for separate. These two files represent the response time for separate HCP samplers, but the aggregated one is just combined and transposed. Last file is the statistics CSV. I've already mentioned you about it, so it contains information about the latency, response time, and the response size. You can use all of these CSV files later on to, let's say, visualize your performance trend on Jenkins. If you use Jenkins plot plugin, you simply just point at the CSV file and define which field you want to show on the graph, how many builds you want to have, how many builds you want to represent, how many results from builds you want to represent on these graphs, and it is really cool to track your performance improvements. In one of the next videos, I'll show you how to configure Jenkins and Jenkins plot plugin to use these files. Alright, so we have all these CSV files. What else do we have here? We have a zipped result files, and I decided to have everything here. So we have the output from the remote machine installation process. So we can see that we are just updating the repository and installing Jmeter and Java. Here is the output from the Jmeter. So we have the same message that was shown earlier in the command log. That's not important. And then finally we have the result file, which contains more detailed data about our test run. You can use this later on. You can use this file you can open that file in Jmeter and just view it if you want, or I don't know, you can just extract any data from it. Last thing, we have the errors file. If you have that option enabled in Jmeter EC2 script, which is enabled by default, this feature will extract all the faulty URLs and put them into separate files. They will be grouped by the error code. So here we see that some of the requests returned with 301, and this status code wasn't expected. So that's why we can see these two URLs in this error file. We're actually using just Google for this test, Google site for this test. So that's why you have these errors, these URLs here. One thing that you can see here also is a zip file, and this zip file contains results from each of the load generators that you use. So for example, if you had 10 load generators or 10 EC2 instances, you would see all the result files in separate zip files. And we've configured our test plan to generate at the time 4 files: the generic result files, result file for the performance monitor. We can have 2 files, local and remote. Local represents performance of the load generator itself, and if you have a remote file configured, then it will the remote performance monitor plugin will monitor the performance of the machine under test. So for example, your web server, whatever. And then we have 2 error files. One it's a CSV file. It contains all the errors, and the XML version contains exactly the same data but represented using XML, not CSV. The CSV file is used later on to extract all the faulty URLs. So yeah, I just left these files for future. If you need to, let's say, analyze what went wrong, these files can come really handy. Okay, so we have all these files analyzed, and finally we have the report, HTML report. So if you open it, you will see a few graphs that were generated here: response time, latencies, etc., etc. So we have a bunch of graphs. Under the graphs, you have all the graph explains what do they show, etc. I copied that the descriptions from the official Jmeter plugins page. So just to save you a bit of time. Okay, so we can slide to next graph. We can see everything that happened. As you can see, we had these two samplers. We can go to the service per hits, and then finally response codes per second. One of the most useful things. You just immediately see what went wrong. In our case, we just received few 301s. Okay, transaction per second. Now, last thing that I want to show you, if the remote if the relog generators returned such a file, perf on the remote file, this graph would be here, but because we don't have it, there's nothing to show you here. But on the next slide, we have a performance graph of the Jmeter node number 0. We had only one Jmeter log generator running because we have just one vagrant box configured. And here you can see this performance stats that I already mentioned to you. So we have the CPU of our CPU usage of our vagrant box, which is the pink line. So it was around, I would say, 5 to 15%. Memory usage, network usage, and even swap usage. Okay, so if you scroll next, it will get you to the first graph. One handy thing, on each graph you have this hash number thing. If you click on it, you will see that the URL will change, and later on you can use it to pinpoint any of the graphs here, which is useful if you want to send someone an email. Just have a look at this graph. So you can just copy this URL or just copy this one. If you click on any of these graphs, it will get you to the description, so you can just have a look what each of these graphs represents. One thing that I've noticed is that there is a simple stats button. Actually, there are 2 or 3 buttons missing that will show you like simple stats and the aggregate report. These buttons are not here because I just opened the file from my disk, and as you can see, we have the file URL here. All the browsers don't allow you to open files from disk, so that's why we can't see these buttons. So what we can do, if you use Jenkins or any web server that can host your report result report, and then you will be able to see all these buttons here. So let's just copy that all the files, and I have simple server. I have WebFS installed, which is a really simple HTTP server. It's like it just uses 1 meg of memory or something. Let's paste the files. So I will open the same report using that web server. So I'll just point at my local host. We have this report, and as you can see, we have all the same files available here. So let's just click on index, and you will see the same the same graph here, but we have two more buttons. One is aggregate report. It will show you the aggregate report, which is, it will just show you this file in this form, so you can just have a look at the stats and compare them with the graphs. And then we have the simple stats button. This button will show you data from this statistics file. Okay, basically that's it. So if you use a Jenkins HTML publish plugin to just publish this report, you will see these buttons. Of course, if statistics and aggregate files are present in the same folder as the index.html file. Okay, so I think that would be it. We've just successfully run our test on this vagrant box. Okay,